Yeah, you shouldn't have to worry about that. So it shouldn't do that. It should resize and fit things appropriately.
Okay.
But so you're talking about like adding an agent or taking an agent away. There may be a specific size you need to clip an agent to. Let's take a look at that. Let's look at the media library real quick. See, his picture is 424, 424.
Did you guys have to go in and resize that? Any of these at all?
Yeah, he did. I think
Okay.
he did resize, and that's why I'm checking. They're all the same size.
Okay.
So we've got them set up to 424 by 424. Are you familiar with like resizing and stuff? We can do that.
I do resizing through Paint.
Okay. Something like that, you can send to us if you want and say, hey, here's all the info. Can you add this person? And we'll add them.
Okay.
Like it's not gonna we have like a package deal that takes us 10 minutes. It's not a problem.
Okay.
We can, it's not gonna cost you guys anything extra to do that. Especially agents. Agents aren't gonna be changing all that much. When it comes to these, you can use different size pictures.
Okay. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it'll give you the option too to use it doesn't matter because I've used other pictures I pulled, are all different sizes and stuff. And so, let me see here. Let's figure out where we're going to start. First thing I want to start with actually is a user. You're going to create a user. So basically, again, anything you click on the left side, it changes the screen on the right. The things that you're going to spend the most time with are going to be in the agents and the properties. And I think that's pretty much it. Team is kind of something that came with this kind of prepackaged theme thing that we started with as a base. So you don't have to worry about, we didn't really use that though for agents. Since agents have a special relationship with properties, we built our own custom agents component. We'll kind of look at that a little bit later. So, but you should have a user for yourself, and this is always the first thing I do is create a user for yourself. So there's some things that you'll find are pretty consistent across all WordPress. Whenever you want to add something new, if you're currently in the section, like users, the add new user is usually in that top left-hand corner.
Okay.
Usually you can search in the top right for if there's a big list, and you'll use that later for sure.
Okay.
So go ahead and add a new user and add for yourself. So give yourself a username. Password. You can pull that over. You're really going to drive most of the time, so get comfortable.
Okay. And then for a website, do I need to add anything?
Nah, you don't. Okay. And you can put show password because it's going to automatically give you one. Now you can edit that.
Okay. That is a strong password.
Yes. You want something fairly strong. It's the #1 hack attempt for WordPress sites for people just trying to brute force attack here. Yeah, shouldn't you? And really, the number of characters is equally as important. So if you were to take like if you have a 6 or 7 or 8 digit password and just type it twice, it pretty much is going to make it impossible to crack. If you have like 14 characters in your password, no matter what it is, it's really hard to crack.
Okay.
Just because of the processing power needed. Now, as computers get stronger and faster, and then that gets easier to you have to keep getting longer and longer and longer, essentially. There's a trick to it if you want to know. So you can do a short sentence, and put periods in between each word.
Okay.
And that's usually a solution that works really well that we have developed here. So we use different sentences, but if you have one for yourself personally, like I love pizza! Exclamation point. So you could put I.love.pizza! Exclamation point, and you've now got special characters. You have a capitalization. Now, if you need to do a number, then
Strong
my
there.
phone number is,
Okay.
or my.parents.phone.number.is. And you get a super strong password that way that
It's pretty simple.
that you
but
can always
no one would
remember.
ever guess.
Right, and when it's something you can remember, right?
Right.
When you're ready, change role to administrator. And then hit admin. Okay, great. Now let's go to Howdy. Let's become and log out. And to log in, you're gonna type this. One second here. You're gonna type this one. This is, and I'll send this when I send you over the link. I'll send this link. Send you over the link to the video. I'll send this to WP-admin.
Okay.
I don't know if that
I
was the
think
same.
that's what's very similar, if
Yes.
not the same. Yeah.
So it'll be sbcommercial.com. Yeah, matter of fact, I think it is the exact same right now. So it'll be the same login URL.
Okay.
It won't change. Don't worry about the staging because that'll go away.
Okay.
So when you do that, it'll automatically redirect. If you're already logged in and you've left your computer on overnight and you were logged in yesterday, a lot of times it'll just keep you logged in and you'll go right to the admin dashboard.
Okay.
It won't even, it'll bypass the login. If it needs you to re-log in, it'll take you and redirect to the login screen for you. That way, that's why we always use that password, because it'll redirect you to the right place no matter what you need to do. And except if you're already logged in, it'll bypass it.
See if I remember the password.
Okay, so I will talk to you a little bit about the media library, really briefly. You go ahead and click on it, and if you know you're adding a ton of properties all at once, or you know you have a whole bunch. If you're adding more than one property and you have a bunch of photos, and you can distinguish what those photos are, then you can always go in and just add all your photos into your media library. They'll be accessible for all the rest of the things that you do. The only issue there is you can see that you're going to run into, like, is that property attached to that property? Is it attached to that property? Like, if you don't know,
Right.
it's hard necessarily right at first glance to figure it out.
Okay.
So you may want to add them one at a time, but everything that you add, both media, flyers, any file that you want to add to the site is going to end up here in your library.
Okay.
All right. So you can bulk add stuff here and then go and use it when you're creating, adding a property or so forth. So let's start. Any questions on the media library?
Not at this time.
Okay, let's click on an actual piece of media, and I'll show you a couple of features that you can do. So click on, click on that picture. So when you're adding photos, this alt text, it's helpful to add something in that describes that picture.
Okay.
It's great for search engine optimization.
And does it show up too if someone scrolls over that picture and it
Yes.
kind of has that title? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So if you want to describe what that is, you can do that. But it's a healthy thing to do. Let's see here. You can actually do some minor editing. Hit edit image. So you can rotate or adjust the width, height. You can even crop. So just drag your mouse on there. Click and drag.
On this
Yeah, on the picture. See? Now if you hit crop, it just crop it to that.
Oh, gotcha.
So hit cancel.
Okay.
So you can do some minor editing right there on the. I think here. Go ahead, hit the image again. Start in the top corner, but give it a little bit like a margin inside a little bit and drag and make it bigger. Keep going. All right, stop there. Let's see if it selection. So if you wanted to, and you're trying to get to 424 by 424, you could bring in a picture and try and either crop it or reduce the size. So the other thing, hit cancel. Let's edit the image again. And you can adjust, you can actually you can scale it down.
Put in 424
Like if it's art, well, if it was a square, but if it's not a
Right.
square, you're gonna have. So you can
And
do
if I
some.
put it in on this side, then it'll automatically change.
Yeah.
what it
So
needs to be.
like if it's in general, right, you can sort of automatically scale it down to that. And you can also do it by aspect ratio too. So if you wanted to do like a 4:1 clip or whatever, but you can play with this a little bit. It allows you to, fairly quickly edit a picture. You know, if instead of having to open Photoshop or Paint in your case. So you can play with that. If you're not, you can always send it to us. It's no big deal.
Okay.
If you have to open Paint, it's probably don't use Paint. Yeah.
I'm not proud of that.
Yeah, it's probably not the best thing.
So if I cropped this and saved it, would it save over this image?
Right, but remember, you probably uploaded the image from so it didn't save
Right.
over your hard drive.
Right.
It just saved it locally here.
Okay.
So go ahead and hit cancel. And if you ever want to delete an image, now see when you open this, when you click on an image, it brings this big thing up, and you have to actually click out of here. If you wanted to edit a bunch of images, then you can hit the arrow. It'll take you to the next image. You can also delete permanently. And go ahead and hit edit more details here. I don't think I've ever even clicked on this, to be honest with you. Kind of curious what it actually allows you to do. Scroll down. We can edit the URL, caption, alt text, description. It's really the same stuff.
Okay.
That's really the same stuff. Well, now that we're actually editing the image itself. Let's see if there's a cancel or anything. Probably isn't. Interesting. I've never used this before, so it's actually new to me. Yeah, just hit the back button. You probably will never need to use this. I'd probably say don't ever go in here.
Okay.
If you need the URL for something to an image, you can just click on that and copy it.
Gotcha.
That's the easiest place to get that URL. And if you need to delete it, you can delete permanently here. Go ahead and exit this out. And go ahead and hover over the image. I don't remember if you should delete it or not. So, you can bulk select also. So if you want Control or Shift,
right.
You can bulk select, and then so you could delete that. I was going to show
Gotcha.
you. You
Okay.
can delete that selection if you wanted to. In this case, hit cancel. Hit the list view. If you like that view better, you can do that. So this is great for like names. So if you're needing to, if you want to add a bunch and you want to see it in list view, it's much easier to see by name. So if you've named all your images before you uploaded them by the property, then you would be able to see that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's just a different view.
Okay.
All right, so let's go over to agents. Now, one of the things too is when you hover over, like go to properties and just hover your flyout,
Right.
that's the same as what shows up below.
Okay.
It's the same thing. It's just if you want to go directly to a certain section.
Okay.
So let's see here. There really aren't any categories with agents. You're just going to edit or you're going to add.
Okay.
Those are the two things you're going to do. So go ahead and.
Can we go ahead and remove Jason?
Yeah, so all you do is trash him.
That's it?
That's it. That's something new today?
No, he will. Well, so he stopped with the commercial side maybe a month ago, and then he got hired on SB maintenance.
Oh, okay.
So.
Yeah, he's been done selling.
Yeah, we were like, delete everything. Oh wait, no, he's gonna work.
Yeah.
So, but he won't be on this website, obviously.
Okay. So, so that's how you trash somebody. Now the great thing is you have trash here. If you ever did that by mistake, go to trash, and this is going to be consistent across all of your.
Okay.
Everything here is it's really called a post type. So a post type is data I want to post to the website.
Okay.
All right. So it's kind of been hijacked into a blog post, right? But all things are posts. Everything's a post. An agent's a post. A property's a post.
Right.
A page is technically a post. They're a type of post that is specific with specific fields. So we'll kind of talk through that again. So anyway, this is a all posts both sites use the same thing. You'll see what's published and what's trashed. So you can click on the checkbox next to like JSON, go to bulk apps. Oh, you can actually highlight underneath and just click restore. Or if you wanted them restore multiple, you could go to bulk actions, hit restore, and hit apply. So, so go back to click on all agents. It'll take us back there. So let's quickly look at pick any agent, and we'll talk about the fields. And we'll add one. So the first thing that might pop up is this visual composer. So this is using a specific agent template that we have, and so we'll reference this. This lays everything out on the page for us.
Okay.
So we're going to add a new one. We're going to want to make sure we're using that template.
Okay.
We're going to load that template in to make sure everything looks like this is supposed to look. And I'll kind of go over more of that in detail when we actually create a new one. Okay. I just want you to know that this is here. The way any post in WordPress works is there's sections to each post. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at screen options up in the top right. Yep, these are all the sections that are available to you. If it's checked, it shows up. If it's not checked, it'll go away. So if you don't want to see something, you can just uncheck it, like page header options. Maybe you want that, maybe you don't. Revolution slider options. I can tell you right now, go ahead and uncheck revolution slider option. You're never going to use that. Okay. Footer options. Uncheck footer options. Right. Uncheck tags. Not going to use these things. Uncheck page margins. Great. Don't need all this stuff. Okay. So then you can just click. Now, I'll actually watch this Visual Composer one. Uncheck Visual Composer. Check it. There it goes. All right. So if you think that you should see something, a section on your page, you're like, where is this section? Go. I could not tell you how many times I'm like confused, like what the heck? And you go up here, and for whatever reason, it's unchecked. Okay. Okay. Check fancy title options. We might need that. I don't think we do though. I'll double check. All right. So one of the main fields is their name goes in that first main title area. So like a page title, or in this case, we're going to use it as their name. Okay. The Visual Composer section. Each section is collapsible by clicking on that little arrow. So we don't need to stare at it. Page header options. So look at, we're going to have hide page title, that's default. So you can go back up to your screen options and uncheck page header options. Fancy title option. Let's just collapse this for now. We might have to change this to center title and center breadcrumb. I don't think so. Just leave it there for now. All right. Now your agents. This is your actual fields. Okay. Right. So you have a photo, we have a biography, a phone number, an email address, license number. Okay. So it's pretty simple. If we want to edit something, you can put your mouse over like a photo, and a little edit icon comes up. Look at it. And so you can actually delete, you can edit the image if you wanted to. Go ahead and click X out of here. So edit's probably not something you're going to do very often. Roll over, you might delete it if you uploaded the wrong picture, right? Right. So like, oops, I put the wrong picture in. So go ahead and hit the X. Now, you can click the add image and go back. Let's find her and add her back.
How important is it to have alt text with these pictures?
Any picture, if you think that picture has some type of keyword value, so something like this is really not that. It's really not that. Okay. I wouldn't worry about it. Especially where her name is all over this. Right. If someone does like Ann Ashmore, Denton Realtor, to find her, this page is going to come up, okay, whether you've alt texted that or not. Right. Okay. If it's something where it's less unique, like how many Ann Ashmore Denton Realtors are there, right? Not many. If you're saying, let's say it's a what's a big warehouse? 100,000 square feet? Is that big?
Yeah.
Okay. Pretty big. So the number of people who might want 100,000 square foot, you know, warehouse is limited, right? So that person who's searching for 100,000 square foot might be doing a nationwide search.
Yeah.
They might be out of state. It could be Walmart, right?
Yeah.
So something like that, that's where it could get real critical that you might want to put all your bullets in the gun, right? So that's where you want to add that. And so that's where understanding how people search becomes a little more important because what the easiest thing to do is I tell people is just put yourself in the shoes of the person searching. If you had their job and you were looking for property, what would you type in? Go to Google, type it in, see what it instantly populates.
Yeah.
And that's probably what people are typing in.
Okay.
And then then add that. Like so, let's say it's a 100,000 square foot, or if there's a specialty, like crane or hoist or something that's in there, or some type of special use that this property has a capability of.
Right. I know we talked about the Greenbelt Parkway that had the green room in there.
Right.
So,
right. Exactly.
Okay.
So something like that, you might want to add that.
Right.
For that particular picture, that I would definitely add that as part of that whole text.
Okay.
These are, I would say, be consistent with them because they're just text fields. You can type whatever you want in there. One, you can make a mistake, so be aware. Two, if you want parentheses around them, or you want, I would just say keep it consistent. So from one to the next, it's either just dashes or parentheses or whatever. And then whatever that license number is supposed to be, it's just a text field.
Okay.
So that's the only thing you have to do. Also is click 8. You have to check that for category 8.
Okay.
All right. So we'll go through them and let's pretend we're going to add an agent.
Okay.
We'll go through the whole process. So go to add new agent, and you can hit leave, and it won't save the changes.
Okay.
And it's letting you know if you ever see that dialog box, you changed something.
Okay.
So if you don't expect to see that and you see it, you did edit something. If you leave and you haven't saved it, it shouldn't.
Okay.
It won't take the save. So hit finish, and this is probably good if this popped up. So Visual Composer has a front end and a back end editor.
Okay.
So you want to use. So hit finish. It's just telling you that. Click open this up. It's already pulled it in for you, it looks like, so we're good. So it's already in classic. So classic mode is, go ahead and hit classic mode, just so I can show you what happens. You remember when you used to, that's what all you had for WordPress, right? Was this, and you had to do crazy stuff. I don't know if you've ever done custom short codes and stuff.
A few years ago, but I wouldn't remember.
It was horrible. It was for me to train you, I'd have to teach you all these special codes and stuff. It'd be horrible. You basically writing HTML is the same thing. It's horrible. So get back into there. See, visual, pretty. So anyway, we'll touch on this. You're probably not going to have to do too much with it, but I do want you familiar with Visual Composer. So the good thing is it's already pulled our template in for us. So you can collapse Visual Composer here.
Okay.
And you don't really need to see it.
Quick agents. Does it matter if I do that
at
the beginning?
No. Okay. The order of this is totally unimportant. Enter your title.
I guess eventually we'll have to add these guys.
Sure.
Okay.
Add image. So here, if you've already added an image, you could just scroll to find your image.
Right.
If you want to, I'm sure you've done this before, upload file.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can hit select files, pick a file, and hit select files. This is not my computer, and this is Amanda's, so I imagine there's nothing on here. So go ahead, that Rashad Coulter KO when edited. Hit open. So there you go. You can add your alt text if you want right then, and then hit select. Bam. There's our photo.
Okay.
Right. Scroll down. We're gonna actually post this. I want to see what it does with the image size, if it's resizing or not. Blah blah blah. You type in the bio, type in the phone number.
And all of this is standard, right? Or not standard, but required.
Yeah, ignore this. I meant to take that off. No dashes or parentheses. Ignore that.
Okay.
Type. Just keep it consistent. You can type whatever you want.
Okay.
Yeah, just put a fake email in. And you can. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay, scroll up and let's. I should scroll down again because it was that. Check something. I want to make sure we have. Nope, it's keeping it. So you do not need to see fancy title or fancy page header options if you don't want to.
Okay.
All right, so go ahead and publish that. And I'm going to hit command here. Click on that link. So it did do something. It's resizing it. So you do want to make sure you're 424 by 424 because
Right.
it's automatically going to resize that
Okay.
down to 424 by make it fit 424 by 424. And that's not something obviously you want to do.
Okay.
So it's pretty much the process other than resizing the image.
Okay.
And so let's go ahead back to that agent.
Do you want me to exit out that?
I would say we move him to trash.
Okay.
And just get rid of him. No, you don't care. You can X out that tab, sure. So it's pretty easy to add an agent.
Yeah.
Once you have agents have properties. So again, add new. You really don't have to mess with too much else. This was also the same on agents. I'm going to show it to you here.
Okay.
There's a quick edit option on any post. So whether it's a page or post, which is like a blog, or for a property or an agent, go ahead and hover over this and hit quick edit. And it'll give you a few options to edit. So in this case, for your custom ones, agents and properties, you're really nothing in here for you to do other than change a category. But when you change a category on properties, it changes what options are available for you.
Right.
So you want to make sure that I wouldn't
Don't
do it.
quick
I
edit.
would not do
Okay.
quick edit and start changing these because it will basically make you start all over with all the data. And that property, if you entered all the data and then you switched it,
Yeah.
like
Okay.
you can't just convert a lease to a sale because the data
Right.
is different.
Okay. Makes sense.
So go ahead and get cancel.
Okay. What is the date, password?
That's just the date you're posting it. So
Okay.
let's say you know you have a property that's coming up for sale that you have all the information on, but technically for whatever reason you don't want to
That is
list it
awesome.
yet.
We have one going on right now.
Perfect. So, and I would assume realtors do this because they're like they don't want anyone to know yet, and they're sharing it with specific people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they don't want the public to know. So in that case, you could set a future date or backdate something if you have a reason to backdate it. But you could base it. Maybe you forgot to do it, and you want to make sure Mr. Brown knows. Monday morning. No, I did it Friday.
Okay.
You can
I
do
like
that.
that feature too. Not like that would
This
ever
is
happen.
recorded, so I'll have to go and edit this part out. So yeah, you could set a future date. That's what that's for.
Okay.
And it does help. This is also a way for you to sort something. So if you want to quickly sort it, and you want to I want this one to show up first, edit the date, and that will resort it for you.
Okay.
So it's kind of a hacky way to resort, but it's a real easy way for you to do it. And you can change it so it basically the newest shows up first.
Gotcha.
So if you
Okay.
want to have a certain property, show up first, and you're adding another one, set it to a date prior to the last property. And it doesn't the date isn't showing up anywhere on the site.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that is handy because there are sometimes, a property, for instance, with LoopNet, when we add them, they're
Featured.
whatever we added last is on
First.
top.
Right.
but there's other properties that are
more
you want
prominent.
in front. Yeah.
We're going to add a featured option for you when you're adding a property
Okay.
to click featured. And if it's clicked featured, it will do two things. One, it'll put it to the up front, and it'll go date order again based on featured.
Okay.
So if you have 5 featured, it will go by
Right.
the date. So the
Okay.
dates still are important, but and do help with sorting, but it'll put them first and then show everything else.
Gotcha.
It'll probably show that we're going to leave it where it'll show the featured and everything else, but it'll just show the featured as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can cancel that. Let's just trash that property. Okay. So because there are different templates with different data, right? When we're adding a new one, let's add a new property.
Okay.
Yeah. You'll find any of the add news on the
Right.
left.
Okay.
So just type whatever you want.
This one we're about to add. And this you want the title to go in there or the address?
That's a really good question because that's more about how or both.
Okay.
Right? Don't be afraid to put both. We're going to use the address in another place as well,
Perfect. Okay.
but don't be afraid to put both in there.
Okay.
Because that's again searching. Like the more information you put in, and I came up with something too. We need to come up with a way for you to let people know this is sold, so that
Right.
So anyway,
Or fully leased.
right.
Okay.
And because you want to keep it up there as a property, right? For people maybe to
Right.
see, it'll have a banner across the image and stuff. So it's something we're working on now.
Okay.
So that's up to you whether you put the address in there or not.
Okay.
It's not the only place that is going to list the address. So if for the most part we haven't been doing that, sometimes you all list it as the address.
Yeah,
You don't even give it a name,
It
right?
depends on the agent.
So-
Really, John is more. He'll have titles for his listings, and
I
then
like the
others
titles.
is just.
I think
The
like
address.
this, people know this as like the Inwood building, right? Even though it's Provident Place.
Right.
Nobody knows it's called Provident Place. Nobody ever. So whatever nomenclature people use to reference something is probably what you should be putting.
Sure.
So if people call it Zach's Mini Storage, then call it Zach's Mini Storage. So click that backend editor. You're always going to want to click this. Now, the first thing we're going to do is pull in the appropriate template. So a template, right, is this pre-saved set of this design. This is a blank. You have a blank page. There is no design. We're going to pull in a design we've already built. So is this for sale, for lease? What is this?
For sale.
Click that icon is the template icon, and go find whatever it is for sale. Is it industrial, office, land? What is
It's
it?
probably going to be listed as industrial.
For sale? Okay, click that one. Now be careful you don't click that twice, just in case, because scroll down.
Did it add it twice?
It did not, which
Okay.
is good. So scroll up for a second. Now you've added this, scroll up here. We can collapse it. Yep. There you go. So it's not here. Now, where are all my options, right? So the reason is because we don't know what it is yet. The system doesn't know what to give you for options. So click both the for sale type and then industrial. Magically, the industrial properties for sale stuff is here. So now we would click add image. Now that is a featured image that we'll use for certain things. So that's the primary image you'd want to show up in the
Okay.
list results. And then the ones you want to cycle through when someone actually clicks on it is the other image.
Okay.
So
And that would be.
yeah,
when
add
you
to gallery. So when you do an add to gallery, what's different here is that you'll get, so click on like multiple pictures. You'll see what it does. And then click like shift. Yeah, so anything checked is going to pick. It's going to pull in. So click maybe like 5 pictures here. There you go. So you did shift, right?
Oh, yeah.
So shift will do the whole row.
Right.
Command will do individuals.
Okay.
And then hit select. And you'll just see what happens here. It doesn't matter. Now those are in the gallery. Now,
Okay.
think I showed you this. Let's say you want this one first. Grab that one, drag it, and move it over. There you go.
Perfect.
Now that's how it'll show up in the gallery. So now your featured image, it's the same process. The nice thing, if you're adding all of I added all the gallery images first because one, it's adding my featured, right? Two, when I add all the galleries at one time, so when I pull up the upload feature here and I upload, I shift all of my images. You don't have to add one at a time. You can upload 20 images. When it does that, for my gallery, it automatically pre-selects all those images, and I just got to hit edit, it's done, and I'm done.
It's pretty easy.
Yes. Now, if you've named the images 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, like is the one that you want is your featured, it'll automatically pull that one first because it's the first in the list. So it kind of does it like alphabetically how it is on the server on your hard drive typically, but sometimes you have to resort them. But it does, it adds them all and it pre-selects them so I can just hit select. This is obviously for your featured, so you come back in and just pick the one that you wanted as your featured and hit select and there you go. Don't worry about it being big. Now this one will resize.
Okay.
So scroll down, description. Blah, blah, blah. Yep. And you just, you can hit return and it'll just give you a space. Now this is to start typing in an address. See how it brought it up?
Yeah.
I want you to find the address and actually select it from this list. Is that right?
Yep.
It looks it? You can do that. Zoom in just to check. So let's say it's actually this spot right over here. Then you could drag that little icon there. Now don't do that necessarily, but if that's the right building and it's perfect, just leave it.
Okay.
If, like I said, if it was really, maybe a part of this lot, this is the whole lot that is given for that address, and you just wanted it here, you could move that.
Okay.
That
and
just by click it and move it. There you go.
Okay.
And yeah.
And it doesn't change the address. Okay.
It can. So it might go to, if it doesn't recognize, and it'll just go to coordinates.
Okay.
So subtype. This is all the stuff that's going to come right out of your Excel sheet. So subtype, just type it in, comma, type it in, comma, type it in,
so this is if it can be also as like retail and office?
Yeah,
is that,
comma, whatever,
Okay.
whatever you want to put. Total square feet. So it's already square feet, so you just got to type 5,000. No, it won't even let you put in
Comma.
nothing else.
Okay.
Price.
And does that change or no?
We haven't had it because everything we saw was square footage, so we didn't. So price would be now this you'll put in a full.
Do I have to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. If you want it to show it that way, you have commas and all that. So price per square foot. Again, you're gonna put. We left this as a text field because we felt like there's maybe some time where you're.
Yeah, and LoopNet auto calculates that stuff.
I might put an A sometimes, or you might not be showing call for price, right?
Right.
So that's why price field and price square foot is this way, so that in case you need to edit it, right?
Right.
But square foot's always square footage. So anyway, clear ceiling height. I love that as a text field. You type whatever you want. You pick a person.
What if it's two? You just do awesome.
Pretty easy. And lastly, add your flyer. So this is where you'd add like a PDF or whatnot. Now, if you've already added it to your media library when you did the gallery, you can do that. PDFs won't show up in the gallery.
Okay.
So now there's a downloadable button underneath the images that it says download. It says downloadable flyer.
Okay.
Click that, and it'll launch. It'll either download it or open it in a browser window, whatever the personal settings are for that user.
Okay. So if I add or upload a flyer and it's showing up here, it's only going to show up as one file, right? It's not going to show up as we have 5 pages of a flyer, so I have to go.
It's going to. I'm assuming you're setting that up as a PDF, correct? So I've set this to only accept PDFs.
Okay.
So set them up as a PDF, and it's just going to link to that PDF.
Perfect.
PDFs are searchable too by Google, so
Okay.
it's great because if all that information gets associated with your site and with content, and it's good.
Okay.
Yep. So it's one file.
Okay.
And all you do is click it, select it. So scroll down. There's actually some PDFs in here.
Gotcha. Restricted.
Yeah. See, you can't.
So-
But you
okay.
could. So pick a PDF. That's what a PDF looks like. Bam.
Great.
You're done. So really, that's it.
That's pretty easy.
Yes. So scroll up. You'll hit publish, and you're done. Now, if there's any notifications, it's going to come up here. If it comes up, post published, that's good. You can
Okay.
this little X. You can dismiss stuff like that.
Okay. And this, you may go over this at some point, but with WordPress, I know sometimes, especially with the one that we use since it's so old, it's always saying there's 21 updates available.
Yeah.
Do I need to mess
So
with any of that?
newer version of WordPress automatically do most security updates, and they've separated certain pieces of WordPress to make it where if they update security issues, it won't crash everything.
Okay.
So, we do keep an eye on it. We know of like major ones, and we'll just go ahead and usually deal with it. But if you see something that looks weird to you, then yeah, you can go ahead. If you see like like plugins, there are already 8
Yeah.
updates, and we'll do them from time to time when it's appropriate.
Okay.
But if we know of a security update, we'll go ahead and do those pretty quick. And we usually will let you know that hey, we're doing security. The site might be down for
Okay.
an hour today, or we try to do them at night where we push everything live at night.
Okay.
So that's it. And so the only difference now is that, and I think we should remember when you add a new property, you've got to pull in the first thing you got to do is pull in the right template,
Right.
and then select the options under the category. If you don't do those two things, you're going to struggle with getting the property in. Once you have one, you can edit it. Now, once you have a property, it is. So let's do this. Let me show you what happens. Uncheck for sale type and industrial for sale. It's gone, right?
Yeah.
And type now for lease and industrial for lease. Now it's kept stuff. Scroll down. Some of the fields are up, right?
Okay.
Because now it won't. Now if you try to save it, it's not going to do it because you need a space name and a lease rate
Right.
and all this other stuff.
Okay. Makes sense. And then is there a way, so I think this is something we discussed, if a property is also for sale and for lease,
So
would I go in and add those separately?
as of right now, you got to add them separately.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I will work. That's a kind of a bigger. How often does that happen?
I mean,
1 out of 10 kind of thing, or is it more than that?
yeah, I'm trying to think out of all of our properties.
You usually will have a property that's for a lease, and then the guy's like, I think it's time to sell, right?
Yeah, or depending on, we have some properties that are owned by investors. That includes Scott, and so, sometimes those are the ones that come to mind that they're leasing and trying to sell to.
But typically, that property, the struggle is because they have such different needs as far as data
Yeah.
and what they show up that it's really.
And I think it's perfectly fine to go in and add them separately. The thing we wanted to make sure is if someone's going in and they're looking, so for instance, this property, we have listed for sale and lease for exposition. So if someone goes in and they're searching and they see this, they're like, I love it. Oh, it's only for lease. I want to buy.
Okay.
We want to make sure they see.
So go ahead and new tab. Yeah, so you'll have to add a second one. So go ahead on the new tab here and type in. That's part of the reason we separated leasing and for sale properties. Someone has to specifically look.
Right.
So go ahead and click on our properties. So unless they click, like there's no for sale here. These are all lease.
Yeah.
So click on for sale. There's no lease here. They're all for sale. So you have to be in one of the other.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get mixed up.
Right.
Okay, so a person really can't come on here and outside of, if they did a search, and this is something I can't control. If they search for some type of property for sale, and they, for whatever reason, like, let's say Google pulls up the for sale listing and because it's the same address and stuff, and they click on the lease, they may see lease info. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if they like typed in an address and got on your site, although here's from a marketing perspective why it's really not that big a deal in some regards, is that the site needs to generate a lead. And even if they generate, like they think they're on a site, they still contacted you, which was the whole purpose of the website,
exactly.
Right? So it's one of those where sometimes information like that can lead to a lead generation that you wouldn't have had otherwise, even if it was a mistake.
Right.
Does that make sense? So it's really, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I don't think you'll have a person coming here. And now, if you get a whole ton of calls, people are mad that which I can't foresee happening. I thought that was for sale, and any person who gets that lead is probably going to be like, well, I have some other stuff for sale. Let's chat.
Yes.
Let's go. Let's
Right.
meet. Get together and what do you want? I can help. Don't stop searching. Let me search for you. Like that's my job. Anyway, so I don't think it'll be too much of an issue.
Okay.
So I'm going to send you this link so that you can go through and get properties inputted.
Okay.
So I'm not sure how fast you can do that. I'll let you clean up what's here, and let's go back to the edit properties list and go to all properties. Now you can sort because there's a lot of properties already, right? So let's go by category, and you can go like industrial for lease, filter, bam. And if you're not sure if it's doing something, look in the bottom left-hand corner usually, or look, your browser usually tell you. So apparently I have no industrial for lease on there. So click on, let's go to land for sale. I know there's definitely land for sale. So it's a quick way to filter. Bam. So if you want to like go through and filter and like edit these or restart them all, get this cleaned up to where you're ready to launch it. That way, as soon as you do that, then we can go and push it. Like once you say yes, the properties are good, and if you get stuck with something, call me. I'll come over. Thursday is my only day this week that I'm like, from the time I get here until 5 in the afternoon, I'm like completely in meetings all day.
Okay.
Actually, I've been meetings till probably about 6. The last one's in Gainesville. That starts at 4. So let's show you another section.
Okay.
Did he use that? Okay. I'm going to have to add something. Do it right now. Don't worry about configuration or everything. I'm going to add something right now. Oh, what am I doing? I'm searching the wrong section. All right. So when someone fills out a contact form, right? I guess I can't test that. So that flamingo thing, it's really weird. I've never did this. It's like not normal at all. So when you do that, you're gonna come into this flamingo, and you'll see inbound messages. It's there. That's funny. Oh, that's the address book. Those are just our users.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, so let's see here. So inbound messages. No items found. You'll see this is just a backup for you. It's going to email you, and they're all supposed to go to you, correct?
Yes.
Let's actually do this right now. Who do you want this to? That's from. We want this to be. Let's see here. Okay, 2. That's it. Oh, that's right. They changed this silly thing. Is it Krista Weeder?
Yes.
Wieder.
That's
SBP commercial.
it. That's it. And then that's also where in the 2, let's say I was out of town on vacation for a week and
Sure.
I want them to go to John.
Yep. So you would come to contact you. So these are all the forms under contact that you would have. So we have 2 property inquiry forms that are now this is dynamic text stuff. So you don't want to change this one because this is going to the agent's email that you put in the agent.
Okay.
That's why it's saying
Gotcha.
configuration error. It doesn't know that we messed with it
Okay.
and changed it all. So so this is the actual form. So the only form that you would want to change is this contact form 1, which is like your basic, this one,
Okay.
the basic one that goes,
Right.
who knows where it goes. So yeah, you can come in here, and this is your form. I'll go back to contact. This is all your forms. You click on contact form 1, and then click on the mail tab, and that 2. So
Okay.
if you want to add a second person to receive these, you can do that now by adding comma, space, next person.
Okay. But it's always a comma to separate them, not a semicolon. Or
Yes,
does it
comma.
Okay.
Comma.
Okay.
And you don't have to have a space after. You can just comma and type in the next person.
Okay.
See here, and then so once you do actually have them, the flamingos where you actually get the inbound messages,
Okay.
and they'll start listing. So if you for some reason, let's say you start getting these, you're getting 2 to 3 a week, and all of a sudden you notice I haven't any all this week. Go ahead and look, see what's in there,
Okay.
and you can see because I will tell you, IT people all the time will change settings on spam filters nationwide, not nationwide, but across your server, everybody at your office, and all of a sudden something that was coming through cannot come through.
Yeah.
And the best thing is to always come in here to check for messages daily is better because this 100% will capture.
Yeah.
There's a bazillion reasons why our server is going to send mail. That configuration error thing has a lot to do with trying to prevent or trying to make sure your mail gets through to your server. The reality is this is a web server, not your mail server. Your mail server comes from a different server in a totally different building. A really smart mail, not like let's say my mail server, right? So your mail routes from somewhere here in Denton, probably right at your office building. My mail server is actually in Canada. Okay. My mail server knows your mail server's in Denton. Your web server is actually going to be in Pennsylvania, something like that. Okay, so if my mail server gets mail saying it's from Scott Brown SBP Commercial and goes, well, that server shouldn't be in Pennsylvania, it should be in Texas. I know that server. I can find out and check that. It will deny access. It'll say spam
Okay.
because it shouldn't be coming from there.
Gotcha.
That was part of this whole configuration thing where it won't let me do this anymore. When I tried to change this right here to because sbpcommercial.com, this is the from. You can't put like AOL or because it's not coming from AOL, it's coming from your server. Now I can set the reply to, so when you reply to it, it'll reply to the email address. But I've got to tell your server that's always coming from me, this SBP commercial, the same domain.
Yeah.
Right? So it gets really weird. Yeah, you don't have to worry about all this stuff I'm telling you. Really, what I'm telling you is that that it's really best to come into Flamingo and practice going to this inbound messages and checking to see what's in here and not relying on your email.
Okay.
The reality, especially if you're getting lots of messages and they come in every hour, that's fine. It's when what happens is there's a inconsistent period to it. Like I get one day, and then there's 3 days off, and I get two in one day, and then I get 2 days off. How long do you wait? And you want to get your messages all the time, right? Like you don't want a lead to sit.
Right.
Imagine John or Scott might get upset. So checking this and refreshing this. Now the email we send is really like a bonus, but checking this a couple times a day to make sure there's nothing in there is always the safest bet to guarantee you've gotten all your leads.
Okay.
So, that's something I would probably do it in the morning from what came in last night. I do it at lunch or right after lunch to see what came in midday, and then I do it just before I left for the day and send them out. And like I said, we'll set this up so your receiver will make sure you're getting your email address. Once we move the site, we'll immediately start testing because. We'll just immediately start testing this form and make sure that you're getting them. That'll be the last thing we do is make sure that you're receiving your form emails. Okay. That's all I want to go over.
How would I add a press release or a blog?
A blog post? Sure.
Yeah.
You're gonna go to post. What? Oh, I wonder if messing with something right now. Okay. So you're going to go to post, and this is just like any other type of post.
Okay.
Hit add new. So let me show you some neat tricks. Okay, I'll show you. No, it's not all I wanted to show you. Let me show you a little bit about Visual Composer.
Okay.
Okay. So when you're adding a blog post or a press release, you can pretty them up a little bit. Okay. Make it format a little bit nicer and prettier. And it's really easy. Yes, not just your boring copy and paste the text in. There's actually quite a bit of options. It can be a little overwhelming at first, but it's really, I'll show you a few here, some simple things that'll get you going. Okay. And I'd almost recommend you play with it a little bit if that's something that you want to do. So I'm going to drive for a second because there's a few things. So just like your old one, you're going to type in it, give it a title, right? There's your title. Do you have something off the top of it, like that you want to know is coming up for an announcement? Just curious.
We're about to celebrate 25 years.
Right, whatever. Make sure you click this backend editor. This is where you're going to edit. Okay. So previously, classic mode, this is all you had, right? Maybe you had the double bar, right? So you had two things. Boring. Okay, let's click this. So now, the other thing you can do is you make sure you select blog. Okay. Here we can add things. The first thing I would say you do is you add an element. What you're going to add is a row. This little bugger right here. everything on the web, every single thing that you ever see on the web is actually, let's say this is a web page here. Everything, there's your header and your footer. Those are rectangles, right?
Right.
What's this? A rectangle.
Okay.
Well, no, I mean, a square, sure. But it depends. It really depends on the size of the screen. Could be a square, could be a rectangle. We'll just say it's a four-sided object, right?
Okay.
So everything is a square with other squares in it. So let's say I have content like an image here. I've actually got a square here that contains this on this. So it's rows and columns.
Okay.
A row and columns. A row, so 2 columns, 3 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns. That's, if you start looking at a home page of a website, what's the rows and columns? And what might you have in a column? I might have a new row with 2 columns in it. Rows and columns, and it's like the old Russian dolls that went inside each other, right? They call it nesting. So it's just rows and columns, and rows and columns, rows and columns, rows and columns. You always start with a row first.
Okay.
So you're gonna add a row. So now, this gray bar here is your row. This whole thing right here is your row. Okay? So let's say you want to have let's say you want to have a picture. You have a picture that you want to place, or let's say you want it in 2 columns for some reason. You can actually just click that. Now you have 2 columns.
Okay.
Now you have 2 places to add your content. You can change this to, let's say you want to do what they call a 2/3, 1/3. And you can put your mouse over, I think it'll show you. Say 1/3, 1/3, 1/3.
Okay.
So a lot of times people do stuff like, they might do something like this, and then only put content in the middle column.
Okay.
Because
Just
they
so
want
it's
padding.
centered.
Right, something like, or they want some kind of interesting padding or something.
Okay.
Now let's say I want another row under here. I can do another row, and I can have it a full width column. So I could put like a big. So what you might do is something here is you might even do this where you have a row with content, and then you stop your content, and you add a new row with a picture or a big fancy text that animates in and has some graphics. Okay, now it's not practical for me to show you all of these options. Sure. Okay, so you can actually go to Google Visual Composer tutorial on YouTube. There's all sorts of stuff on there. You can go to YouTube and type Visual Composer fancy text, and there'll be a person who will teach you all about fancy text. Okay, so you can put in your text here. You can put an animation, and it'll slide up now from the bottom. And there's advanced settings, how fast it slides in, how pause time, typography. If you want to use some fancy font, that's not going to give me an option here, but there's all sorts of stuff.
Okay. So is this? Can you go to our current website? Because I have no idea how to explain what it would be.
Sure.
It's just SBCcommercial.com. So this stuff up here, 2014, Best of Denton County.
Okay, so that's a header. That's a global thing that goes across all of the site. So something like that, you're not going to have access to edit.
Okay.
That's just that's out. So did you want to add something to the current site that's missing, or?
No, I've been wanting to take that off.
Okay. Yeah. So stuff like that we will add, and we will take off without even telling you. We're going to do stuff like that every month or every year, depending on if you win or don't win or whatever's going on. Right. So hopefully, with our help, we've been pretty successful at helping firms because of our social media what we're doing with that of getting best of winners. So hopefully we'll help you with that for next year. Let's go back here. So you kind of can even lay out like, oh, this is what I want it to do. I mean, you can almost think like a news article where you want to put things.
Okay.
The only caveat to this is that if you want to wrap text around an image, that's something that you do in the classic editor.
Okay.
So let's just say you want to add text and you want to keep this super simple. You're not trying to do anything fancy. Make a row and come to here and you can search text, right? These are your text options. Text block, separator, which will create a text with a line and a fancy line. This fancy text, an info list, custom heading. So here we're just going to use text block. This is the classic WordPress. Do you remember this? Right?
Yeah.
You can stretch this out. You can move it around. Okay. Now, if you want to wrap text around, actually, let's not do that. Let's copy this. Right? And I have, another paragraph. Right? Let's say, I want my text to wrap around it. I'm going to have an image up here. I can add media, pick an image. Now here it gives me a size, right? So I'm going to use a medium image, insert in the post. There you go. I'm going to edit this real quick. I want to make sure, see, I have none. I want to align it left. That's going to help that. That's going to allow that text now. See, the text is wrapping. Let's say I want to animate this text, this stuff in. I can actually fade it in. So now the whole text image, when it loads, it'll fade in from the top. I could do a rotate up from the bottom, so the text would actually animate in. So if you have an image, like you have a text that doesn't do that, but if you're wrapping your text, this is really you got to do it this way. So you got to insert the text into your text block, which gives you some limitations. You can't just animate the text block. This you're animating this whole everything. Yeah, everything I'm adding here. So let's go back to none. And this is just like normal stuff, like if you want to put a headline, you can highlight it and change this here. Oh, they've eliminated some of your options here. So using the classic WordPress WYSIWYG editor. And it should be like text H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6. Block quote. Something I saw like a week ago. I forgot to say something. Yeah. So that should give you like 6 different options.
Okay.
I don't like to do it that way. I prefer to I'll prefer to like create different content areas and break it up a little bit. So if I want a fancy headline, I'll create a new row and I'll use like a custom heading, and I'll put my text in there, and I'll pick which what. So that's a major headline, second level, third level. We've already pre-formatted these to scale down with the right fonts and everything. So you just pick like, oh, I want an H3, and you can adjust the font size, but you shouldn't have to do any of that. And actually, there is a font we are using. Oh yeah, this is what you want to do. Just click yes. Use the
Okay.
theme default family. So if you're going to use any of these custom things, use the theme default font family. It's the
Okay.
choice that you want to choose, and that any of the different options, but there are lots of options. So you've added something to a row. If I want to add more to this row, I can click this or this, and I can add. I'm just going to put something with fancy image carousel. So I can actually put in the fancy image carousel into. Let's see here. So horizontal base carousel. I want slides to scroll one at a time. How many to show on like mobile or desktop. Infinite loop, transition speed, navigation, arrows. Like I want the arrows to look like this, or dots, animation. So once, this is where it gets a little more advanced. So once I have all this stuff that I want, it's going to create this. Now I've got a box with an element in it. I can click on that. And now I can add the thing I want to rotate.
Okay.
Single image. I can go get my media library. I can pick the image, size I want to use, caption, all this stuff, and I can do this over and over again, and it'll cycle through and create a carousel for me.
Okay.
So you kind of have to learn it now. Let's say, shoot, I wanted my carousel above my heading. All you do is see this little thing, grab it, drop it. Oh, shoot, I added single image inside. I didn't mean to do that. Pull it out.
Okay.
It's a drag and drop.
Yeah.
It's called Visual Composer. It's pretty easy. So what you do have to learn is you have to figure out, what am I looking at? It gets overwhelming. So I'm going to go through it again with you really quick, because now that we have stuff here, this gray area is a row. This kind of light gray area. Everything inside a row will be a white box. And you can see there's a white box here you can see the edge of it here. And then there's another white box here.
Right.
So this one is a carousel. And you can see the elements here, like, this is how to edit the carousel. So if I want to edit the carousel settings, the original set of settings, you'll click on that little arrow. If I want to edit an actual element, you click on, hover, and it'll be green. And then you can click the edit button. But this original carousel, right, it doesn't have a green thing because it's not the finished, it's not actually what's going to show on the site. It's controlling these things that are going to show on the site.
Okay. So I assume then there's not a way to do it reverse. So let's say I go in and I add that image, and then I say, oh, I want this image to...
Now you got to know what Visual Composer,
Right, you have to select the action and then the data.
Which is why I kind of like, sometimes if you really want to make something look really pretty, you got to learn a little bit of like sketch it out, kind of get an idea of where you want to put things beforehand.
Okay.
If you want to duplicate something, you can just hit this little button.
Okay.
And you just keep duplicating it as long as you want. This will trash it. Pretty easy. Again, you can drag and drop, and you can drop into different rows. If I want to add a new row here, I can do that, and then I can say, oh, I want this over here. I'll drag that over there and move it. You can move whole rows. I want to convert a row into 2 columns. Now I'm going to add an element over here. I want to add a Google map.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's pretty good. I like Google Map. So you'd have to get the longitude and latitude. I think we have another map tool. Hang on 1 second. So there might be multiple, because Visual Composer comes with some stuff out of the box, and sometimes we add. So what we used to do is we used to add plugins. Are you familiar with plugins?
Not really.
Okay, so plugins extend the functionality of WordPress. What we're doing now is people aren't even writing plugins anymore. They're writing what they call add-ons for Visual Composer.
Okay.
So sometimes we've added new Visual Composer pieces. Let me see what we have here. Yeah. So if you want to add a map, my recommendation is to use this Google Maps Plus single. So if it's a single marker, you use this one. If you want multiple markers to show up, you use this one.
Okay.
The reason being is we can style it to look like, and I can even show you how to do it. There's a So I didn't want to add that, right? I can just trash it. Okay. The toughest thing for a new person like yourself is knowing which trash can you're really over. It gets, it is. The first few times you look at it, you're like, there is a, for something specific. One sec. It's down here. Oh, snazzy maps. So if you want a pretty map, actually, I'm going to show you one. There's an automatically a snazzy map style code. You don't even have to, that we already use. So it'll come out and make the roads green. So on our maps, if you notice, like on the property, is this the one we just added?
No.
Oh, sorry, map. I guess he's not using a snazzy map on here. Let me see if this is going to contact us. Yeah, it will only contact us and down here. See these markers? That's a snazzy map, right?
Okay.
So it's got our colors that we want to use. We've given it a treatment. So let's go to the home page. I'm going to show you a trick. Let's say I don't want to lose all this stuff. Let's stay. I'm going to click Command. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go to home page. Get what I need, and then I'll close this tab out. Here's the snazzy map. I literally can come in. I want to edit. See the blue area?
Yes.
That's my snazzy map. So I click that little pencil. And there's my. So I'm gonna just click in here. Command A. Command C, or in your case, Control A,
Yeah.
Control C. Right? I just copied it all, and I'm gonna go back here, and now, so I can say. It doesn't really matter what you put here. Snazzy map. It's not
That
gonna
is
show
okay.
No, it's actually used in case you wanted to do some programming with it and you wanted to reference a certain snazzy map.
Okay.
You would do that. But that's going to pull in now. This map is now going to have all that
This
green.
one. Okay.
Yeah, it'll pull in like icon, and then so I'll go back. Actually, it doesn't pull in icons necessarily. If you're doing a multiple map location, you have the ability. See, this is where you have to learn. You have to learn like just this maps thing, right?
Yeah.
So under, if you're doing a multi-map, this is a single point. But if you're doing multi, we cluster. So if we go back to the home page, let's look at this. It has a cluster. So if we're on the home page, see how that's clustered, right? Now that one over there has got 3. Go in, that's because they're so close,
Yeah.
right? So now it's 2.
Okay.
Right? So I can back out to, see this clustering?
Yes.
So when you're in here, there's a cluster image. We have that, that's what that circle is. So if you ever do create your own map, you'll have to add that cluster image. It doesn't know to do that by default,
Right.
things like that.
Okay.
But the nice thing is you can always go look at this one and copy, write it all down on a note card, and then go and add it. Yeah. But you can see here what we did with the home page, right? We added.
Yeah.
So if you look at the pages we created, you could actually create a template. Let's say you wanted to duplicate something we've already done. So I don't think we did anything special with any of your blog posts, to be honest with you. No, we didn't, because I added them pretty quick. So if you wanted to do something fancy with some of this stuff, then you can you could basically pull that up and create a template out of that page. Your stuff's so simple. So you have a 2-column here with this nice line in it. You could create a template called About Us Template, and then pull that and load that template in.
Okay.
Just like you were loading in the template when we did the
properties.
For the properties, exactly. So I could come in here and let's say I had a new page I wanted to add. I could then that template I just saved back in editor here, and then I could go. There's About Us template.
So is that with the new pages if we wanted to add?
And then you could just edit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right? So if you got a layout that you really liked or something like that, or if you wanted us to do something really nice and build you something, a blog post that's like fancy for some, like whatever reason, depending on the content, then we could do that, and then you could copy that, and you could create a template out of it and reuse it as much as you wanted.
Okay. Yeah, I really like that. And I mean, commercial sales and stuff, no one's looking for fancy stuff.
No, it's
so
pretty straightforward. It's
yeah.
pretty straightforward. Let me back. But so Visual Composer, like I said, can get kind of a little. So this is a single map, and really it gets into like, okay, what kind of map do I want? Satellite, hybrid, terrain, open street, road, map controls, show type controls, show zoom controls, show full screen controls, show pan controls. Like there's plenty of little details here that it's a little overwhelming. And of course, we're looking at probably one of the more sophisticated add-ons, that does quite a bit. The things that I think it might be interested in you, like gallery, like rotating gallery, something like that might be interesting if you have multiple images.
Right.
What might be good too is playing with some of the custom heading stuff a little bit, so that you might want to add, like, what's great with a lot of news and information is a pull quote. Do you know what a pull quote is?
I don't.
You ever read an article and in the middle of the article is like a quote out of the article itself in big cool font?
Yeah.
This is what you you could like let's just like simplify some of this. Let's get rid of this. All these rows here. So what you might end up doing, something really simple, is you might add your row, right? You're gonna add some text. And then I'm gonna add a pull quote, and then I'm gonna add some more text, right? Okay. So what I might do is add a row again, so a row, and then I'm going to add some fancy text. So I can actually go over to content. And these are all my content-based stuff. So I can look at a custom heading. My quote's going to be a little bit bigger. Maybe I want to use this separator with text because it's going to have a fancy line on it. So here it is the title of it. This is what this is what's going to show up. Blah, blah, blah. And then centered, left, right, what kind of border, how big do I want it? Do I want to animate, which would be pretty cool if it animates in. So then I'm done. Now let's say I wanted to add some padding around the thing. I want to make sure it's got space. So if you ever have an image that text is too close to it, you can come in here and you can add 10 pixels of padding around it. There's a lot to learn. Border, if you want to give something a border, you could give it a border. So
but as I'm doing all of this too, because I'm probably thinking, I'm doing something in my mind, but then it turns out different, I can always preview a page.
Correct. Right? Keep it in draft, and you can preview it right here. So you're like, oh, that doesn't look good. So part of that is because on these types of pages, we are using, let's go to a post. I'll show you this. So you want to use fancy title. You want to add a featured image. Okay, those are important.
Okay.
And then you want to use the left title and left breadcrumb.
Okay.
You want to set this to H2, generic title, H2, and then select your this background image. You're going to want to use that. That's what we're using pretty standard. It's what's going to show up. I believe at the top. So your featured image, what is going on? He must be working on something. So I apologize. He's working on that thing. All this.
I understand where you're going with that.
Okay. So that's a good one. Oh, I don't think I hit that. Let's go to, so here is like one item. That's a featured image. So that actually, you guess you don't have to do that top one. You just gotta make sure you have a featured image set,
Okay.
and you're gonna use the fancy title. So ignore that. The fancy title header option.
Okay.
It's not really pulling this stuff in, but you can always copy. You can look at one of the ones we've already put in and just copy the settings, and it'll get you there. Some of these copies, some like fancy title and page header, they don't copy over. So yeah, they don't copy over into with Visual Composer. There's kind of a separate piece. They're part of the theme.
Gotcha.
One of the problems, challenges, is the more options we give you, the more complicated it gets.
Yeah.
So again, you can see here, there's what we've done here with these blog posts.
Yeah.
We've added a right column.
Okay.
I'll show you what we've done. We added a 2/3 by 1/3 column. Okay. In this one, we added a custom heading, which says, reach out to us today.
Okay.
And then we added that contact form.
Right.
Contact. So if I want to, let's say I want to add a contact form. I'll just type in contact. There you go, contact form 7. And I can grab. He's frustrating me. Why is that not? There's probably something related to what he's editing right now. I apologize.
Okay.
So that should pull in you all these options of like what form you want and it's obviously two forms to pick from.
Right.
So we're using just the standard. Yes, the standard form, not the one specific to agents.
Okay.
So yeah, you can drop that in there, and then you'll have that contact form will show up. The other thing that we did do, you notice it's gray. Okay. So let's look at this. No, it's not. Okay. So this is your column settings.
Okay.
This is the whole row. If we had selected gray here in the background, both sides,
Okay.
right? Exactly. So here, and okay, and background color. So there's your. Oops. Let me get back out of that. So you'd select your background color here, and it'll save that. As your background. Make sense?
Yes.
I'm not going to update that. I should say. Hang on one second. I want to check something. Why is this not pulling in the color? There it is. So F7, F7, F7.
Okay.
That's the background color we're using.
Gotcha.
So, which tells me if we go over to was it this one? Because I didn't see that in there.
No, it was the investing in real estate.
Interesting. I'm not sure. There's also sometimes multiple ways to skin a cat. So sometimes he might have done something different in some CSS somewhere. I'm not catching right now.
And yeah, that's fine. We don't have to.
But you play with this.
Okay.
You can play with it and preview it and see what you can do with it. And
Okay.
and if you get stuck, call me. I'll be happy to try and try this or try that. I can always log in and see what you're doing, and it'll tell me that you're editing it. And it'll allow me to take over for a minute and like edit something. So if I'm on the phone with you, we can both go into the post and it'll let one of us take over. It'll tell you if I've taken over. It'll tell you, and a little box will come up and say, user so and so is now taking over.
Okay.
Or is currently editing, so it'll kind of warn you like don't try and edit at the same time.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so it doesn't stuff doesn't get messed up. I told you blog. That's not correct. It's news and info.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So put use news and info because this is
That's
what the blog is.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not technically using
Right.
blog as a category. Other questions? Did I wear you out?
I'm excited. I think it's pretty user friendly compared to what we were doing.
It's user friendly. This freaks people out a little bit because but there's a lot more
that's
control.
what I'm excited about. Just to mess around with it. And like I said, there's no reason for us to get super fancy, but what we have right now is boring. So
It is.
yeah, I like that we can add images to that news and info.
Yeah, and if you like I said, it's called a visual composer.
Yeah.
So you go to YouTube. YouTube will be your friend with Visual Composer. Just type in Visual Composer. 794,000 results. This is globally used.
Yeah.
It's the best. So here, how to use Visual Composer.
Except it's
Just gonna fast forward.
Block, as you can see here.
So it'll go into like
I'm going to
specific detail.
duplicate it.
This is just on Visual Composer, a 20-minute
You
video,
can see
right?
Yeah.
it's duplicated.
And it's
and I'm
just
gonna
using this is
remove
the
it.
basics stuff like I was just showing you,
Here.
right?
Right now we have two different rows
So, what was the
for the same
custom
text because I duplicated.
custom menu, custom header? Remember that one we looked at? So build header and footer, not header and footer. I'll use that. Custom headings. See, I made like a line with a box and all this stuff. So, you obviously there's no audio with that one, but there's a ton of stuff. And if you just search for any specific element that you might want to mess with, there's a lot in here.
Yeah.
So this is everything. There's social. There's, if you're calling out something to a Facebook post or something like that, you can. There's some Facebook stuff in here. You want to create a button. Really easy to add a button. A hover box. Let's look. I know what a hover box is. I think when you hover, a hover box will create a box of text, and then when you hover over it, whatever's behind will reveal. It'll animate. So like you can you could put a call to action like check out. I'm trying to think of something that might be.
Hey everyone, Tim here with Divi Life. Show you how to do similar things
using Divvy, of course.
Ah,
The
gotcha.
website's called
That's how you make something
MendocinoFarms.com.
interesting.
It's a sandwich shop
You can
based
see
out of
that,
Southern
like, where
California. They
someone
have about 12,
could, like,
13 locations
put their
now
house over it,
and growing.
and it could give you
And
data
when I
on
built
that
the site,
property.
I built a couple of really
Yeah.
cool things into the website.
So that's, hopefully you'll have fun trying to learn that.
Yeah.
And we're here to support you. I can, I'll show you. Getting you started is really all I'm getting you going here. The reality is you're gonna be like, how do I do this again?
Yeah, and right now, dealing with our website it's really kind of not part of my daily duties at all at this point. It will now that we're the ones going in and adding the properties, but that's going to take up. I mean, my to-do
Once
list is already full, so
Right.
adding that, I think all I'm going to be doing is messing with adding
Properties.
and editing properties.
Yes.
For the most part, and then of course keeping up with news and whatnot. But once I mess around with it and kind of get because I don't want people to click on every single one and they're just totally different.
I'm gonna show you something that I think is important. It's the last thing. So if you're adding a property that's like a office for lease, this little puppy here, this availability area and lease rate, you got to add a row. So on the
Okay.
left, you would put like suite 100,
That's right. Okay.
and then you would put up
Yeah.
square feet.
And with that too, I could also with the availability, I could put fully leased or leased.
Sure,
So
sure.
we have
Yeah,
like
yeah.
here.
That's a good-
If we listed your
that's
suite,
awesome.
it would just say leased.
Exactly. But you could list it, and people could see these are all
Right.
what's available right now. So you can see here that I've added a bunch, right? You can drag and drop and reorder them, and then you can just remove row.
I
And
can't
so if
tell
you-
you how frustrating it is.
The current
with
site, you
LoopNet
can't.
too,
Oh.
even just with LoopNet adding. So let's say this building we have, we'll say suite 100, 200, 300. Well, only 100 and 300 are available, but then 200 becomes available. It puts that at the bottom, and to me that's so frustrating.
Yeah, you want to see what's available at
in
the top.
either numerical or
You can-
alphabetical order.
You can order it however you
That's
want to order.
perfect.
Drag and drop. And the same thing with any of these. So any of the things where you see add a row, that's the thing you're going to do. You're going to add rows. You can take rows away, and you can reorder the rows. And on the left is the label, and on the right is the data.
Awesome. What about, were you able to add in videos for properties that we have videos on?
He has on his to-do list. He has not added it yet.
But I
Which
assume
ones do
with
you
that,
have?
it
Which
would
ones do you
just
have
be-
videos on?
We have 112 West Oak, 2170 Collins,
When are you going to start adding these? Tomorrow?
probably. Yeah, just maybe start working on it tomorrow. But I assume if it's something as easy as just uploading to media and then
No, yeah, so it is. So I will, so you'll go back, before, by Thursday, we'll have that feature.
Okay.
I'll make sure by Thursday we
Okay.
have it. You'll just have to, if you've added one, it'll be the last item. I'll leave it as like the last item down here as
Okay.
like under flyer. It'll be video.
Yeah.
So when you go and when I'll just email you and let you know that the videos portion's been added,
Okay.
and then you just come into whatever property you want to add the video and add it.
Okay. Is there ways so with the properties how you had the featured photo?
Let me ask you,
We do.
let's talk about videos for a second.
Okay.
Because now we're starting to get into something that. So you're going to want to add them to a YouTube channel.
Yes. So
Okay,
we
You do that
yeah,
already.
Michael handles
Great.
that.
So all you're going to do is you're going to take that link.
Okay. And add that in.
Yes. And I'll show you. Is there only certain types? Do you do this for leasing, for sales,
I
for
think
both?
they're trying to do it for most, if not all of our properties. Right. I mean, it's something we kind of just started doing. So
Yeah.
I don't
mean,
think
drone
they'll
flyovers.
Yeah, I
and
don't think
stuff,
they'll go back to the older properties, but any new ones we get, more specifically Michael and John, they'll be wanting to add those videos. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just looking at something.
No, you're good.
Yes, we have to write some script.
Okay, that's fine.
So we'll get it in. I'll have it in by end of day Thursday, and then you go back and add those in.
Okay.
And we'll set it up so that you're just gonna take your that video play
The
link.
YouTube link.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what we'll do is we'll wrap it with some other stuff so that
Okay.
it automatically shows up and plays, but
Perfect.
it'll take a little bit of wrapping. So anyway, it'll just be a field name for you, like a label.
Okay.
It'll probably just look like an input box, and you'll just paste that in.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the embed? It's a possibility. Yeah, see, YouTube has an embed feature. Of any video. Let's just look at a video here. Roger Federer. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I don't want an ad. This is too popular content, I guess.
Hey guys, I'm Carly Kloss, and I just created my own website with Wix. You can do it yourself.
Okay,
Welcome to
so
Beast Nation.
this
In this video,
usually with share is this embed.
Okay.
So there's a possibility you're gonna copy that whole thing.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I'm gonna try and do it. So if you look at, it's gonna pull in just this, which if you see watch blah 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 blah, it's embed blah 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 blah. So I don't know. I gotta figure out what's the best way to do that, and it's probably not up to me. It's probably up to Reese.
Okay.
He'll tell me what he wants to do.
Sounds good to me.
So I'll let you know on that, and we'll have that Tuesday.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect.
Anything else?
I don't think
An hour and
so.
45 minutes. So much for an hour, huh?
Yeah. No, that's okay.